Pedro, I'm here today with Spencer from Ice Nine Kills. How's it going?
I'm doing well. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. So I heard they kill live. Do you feel like this album is going to answer that question to those that haven't had the pleasure of watching you guys play yet?
I feel like this recorded concert is the ultimate Ice Nine Kills one, and we pulled out all the stops. It was recorded at a very special place in terms of the history of Ice Nine Kills. We played a show at the Worcester Palladium back in November of last fall, 2019, and that particular concert hall is the site where not only I was inspired to start the band from seeing a Goldfinger show back when I was a freshman in high school, but it's also the same stage that the band had their first gig ever when we played a Battle of the Bands in 2001. So it all sort of came together in a really special night, and I'm very excited for people to hear it.
Is this the perfect time to release a live album, considering that, you can't play live shows, you can't tour, so at least it gives the fans a little bit of of an escape, if you will, from the crazy world we're living in?
I think absolutely. I think that people are sort of starved for that live, intimate experience with a band that, for the last 6 months is dead. And I can't think of another time in my lifetime where concerts were extinct. So I think you're right. It's the perfect time to release this album. I'm really excited about how I believe it's going to be received.
Did you guys already have the plan to release it at this time, or the fact that we're in this situation kind of sped up the process in order to get this live album out to the fans?
When we recorded the album and also the sort of DVD portion of the album where we filmed with multiple cameras, we knew that we would release it sometime in 2020, but there wasn't sort of a set date when we did the show. And it just turned out to be sort of perfect that we had this thing already in the can ready to go, and the world needs some live music. So it kind of worked out to be just a perfect situation in terms of that.
In your mind, was always the plan to record it at one venue and make it a one full show from top to bottom, and not do with what a lot of bands do, which is recorded across a tour at multiple different locations? Was that something that you wanted from the beginning?
Absolutely. And not only for just logistical reasons, because we really wanted to up the production value of the visual portion. So, the expenses that would go into taping a multi-angle show for every concert obviously played a factor, but we specifically picked this particular concert because it's, the birthplace of the band, it's where I'm from, and it felt like the right move to do it.
Do you feel that this album is able to record, listening to it, I really felt it, but I want to hear your opinion. Do you feel like this album is able to record the chemistry that the band has with the fans?
I think so. We spent a lot of time to make sure there were recordings of the kids singing along, and that was something that was very important to me. Mics were placed strategically throughout the concert hall so that you could feel that interaction between Ink and the Ink Psychos. And for me, it goes back to the days of listening to the Pantera live album, 101 Proof, and some of the Metallic albums, early Nirvana, live recordings that my friends and I would trade at summer camp. So we wanted to capture that energy, and I think that we did.
I have never been to a Nice Nine Kills shows, and that's on me. That's my bad. But listening to this album, I felt like I was there, and at least it gave me a sense of what it is to be at a show. I felt that you guys did a wonderful job, not only capturing what you guys were doing as far as playing the tracks, but the energy from the crowd. The singing along was absolutely chilling to hear people singing along the tracks. I thought that was such a great moment throughout this DVD. Do you feel that way as well?
Absolutely. And I think from the beginning, from the inception of the band and playing shows going all the way back to 2001, that's something that I was after. That was like the be all and end all, to play a show and to have people sing along. That's something that we were always working for, because it shows you that your music is reacting, and people are feeling what you're saying and feeling the moment. So to get to a point where it's not only a few kids like when we started playing and we'd be stoked that, 15 kids know the words, this was 3,000 people. And it just was an electric feeling that I'll never forget.
Do you get a little bit of some butterflies in your stomach knowing you're going to hit the stage and you're going to be recording this? So it's not like you can afford to make any mistakes because this is going to be on the record. Does this give you an extra push, an extra adrenaline kick, if you will?
I think that you have to approach every show in the same way, because if you start, at least for me, if you start thinking about, oh man, am I going to hit this note or am I going to forget this lyric? Chances are you will. So I try to not think about that kind of stuff. I think when it comes to being nervous and butterflies, sometimes that happens just before you play. But like once you get that first scream out and once you see the crowd react and the support, especially at a place like the Palladium for Ice Nine Kills, you don't even think twice about it. You just go out and you just give it all, give your all.
Is there a song on the set list that always has you a little bit nervous? Like it's almost like your kryptonite.
I guess sometimes when you're doing a very energetic show, especially for a band like us, and most of the songs are very heavy, very engaged. Sometimes when you break down to a song like Testimony, which is a stripped down piano ballad, sometimes you're worried, is this going to kill the energy? Are people going to want this, or they just want the heavy stuff? But it seemed to work out every time beautifully. But those are the few things you think about. Like, you don't want to derail the intensity of the set, but it seemed to work out quite well in the set.
From the silver screen, what is your favorite song or your favorite songs to play live from that album? I feel like the album, is from top to bottom, there's not a single bad song, but do you have some favorites from that record to play live?
I do. I would say probably if I had to pick like a handful, 4 or 5, I'd say Thank God It's Friday. I would go with Stabbing in the Dark. And then I would probably go with It Is the End. And it's such a cool experience for me because I grew up loving these horror films and loving these characters and being obsessed with them and always wanting to dress up like them for Halloween. So to be my age and still be able to do that kind of stuff and have it be part of, my livelihood, like what I do for a living, is just, I try to never take it for granted and realize it's, I'm just having a lot of fun up there.
For the fans that are getting excited about picking up this live album and this release in general, is there any surprises in there for fans? Is there anything in there that you feel like the fans are going to be extremely excited to see and to have?
I think that for anyone that missed the Octane Accelerator tour that this was filmed on, and for whatever reason, sometimes people just can't go to a show. I think this really brings to your home, to your living room, the best representation of what Ice Nine Kills is and that experience live, because we don't want to just get up there and play the songs. We want to give the kids a real experience, and we spent so much time before this tour planning things like costume changes and lighting and choreography with actors. And we actually were in Pennsylvania at this remote location that bands go to before tours, like a pre-production kind of place, and spent a lot of time there fine-tuning all those details. So I think it's, as I said, I think it's a great representation of what that tour meant. And on a side note, not just like the music and the visual of the actual show, I'm so excited for everyone to see this album art. And there are some really cool Easter eggs thrown in there that I think people of our band and of these films are really going to get a kick out of. And in many ways, the whole art that's done by Mike Cortati, always works with us, it's an homage to the sort of southern SoCal punk scene from the 90s. It has a very like Epitaph, No Effects kind of vibe, and I was really excited to be able to incorporate that into what we do.
I spent like 20 minutes to 30 minutes with my son looking at the artwork of the album, trying to identify all the characters. It was a lot of fun.
That's awesome. That was my hope.
Yeah, it definitely had that effect on me. Like I was immediately glued to it. I was like, okay, let me see if I can discover who this guy is and who that guy is. So
Yeah.
it added to the whole fun of the package, of the full package that you guys put together. You have experience now with a live album. You released the acoustic EP not too long ago. Are we looking down the road perhaps at a full length live acoustic album, sort of like MTV Unplugged from back in the day?
I think that would be really cool. I was always a huge fan of the MTV Unplugged era, especially like the Alice in Chains ones and the Nirvana one. So if we could somehow do that, that would be fantastic. I always feel like I like acoustic versions more than anyone else. They don't always have as big of a reaction as I would think they would have. But it's definitely a possibility that I'd love to pursue.
Outside of this album, I have to ask you this question. I would be remiss if I didn't. If you were stuck in a desert island with one horror movie to watch for the rest of your life, what would it be?
I would have to say Scream. You know, it's those of you out there that know me know it's my favorite horror movie, and I think why I choose it is that Scream isn't just Scream and Woodsboro and Ghostface and Sidney Prescott. It encompasses that entire slasher world where all my other favorite films are referenced and homaged and cleverly sort of spoofed in a respectful way. And I think that's why I would choose it.
One more question for you. If you had to be asked to do a soundtrack for a TV series or a movie, what kind of TV series or what kind of movie would you be happy to do a soundtrack for?
I think definitely, obviously in the horror world, but I'm a fan of whodunits. You know, that mystery element of movies like Friday the 13th, where in the first one you don't know who the killer is, and you don't see the killer until the end. It's not revealed who is doing the slaying till the end. So having to create that character with music is such a cool concept that, you know, someone like Harry Manfredini did beautifully in Friday the 13th, or even when you think about Jaws and John Williams, the initial intention in that movie, Jaws, was to show the shark a lot more. But because there were so many mechanical problems with the shark, they had to make up for it with the music. Mm-hmm. And I just think having a task like that, while it's a big undertaking, would be extremely exciting and rewarding process if you nailed it.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. Every time I go in the ocean, I still hear that soundtrack from Jaws. Like in the back of my mind, that song is playing every time I set foot in the water.
My sister was so scared of that movie when she was a kid, she wouldn't take a bath for a month.
Well, the movie that impacted me as a kid was The Exorcist, because being from Portugal, the movie was dubbed, and the translation made it sound like it was about somebody who exercised. So when I went to watch the movie, I thought it was about a marathon runner or something like that, and it was nothing to do with marathon.
That is so funny. I've never thought of that possible confusion. That's really good.
Yeah,
you got quite a workout there, right?
Yeah, it scared the shit out of me because I was a really young kid and I was not expecting to see that out of that movie. So it stayed with me forever. It's still one of my favorite movies because of that. It had such a huge impact.
It's fantastic. And I remember vividly when we were in D.C. years ago visiting the staircase and how eerie that was to see in real life.
Wow, that's awesome. All right, Spencer, thank you very much for your time today. I really appreciate it. Best of luck with this live album that's coming out very soon, September 18th on Fearless Records. Best to you and your family and the band members. Stay safe and stay healthy.
Thanks so much. Take care.
Take care.